Well, today I'm going to talk about aftercare for amaryllis, but I wanted to show you a way that I have kind of taken them and made them look a little bit less Christmassy, and also use some things from my garden and also some things from Trader Joe's by putting together this. I think is just an exquisite arrangement. So here's how it came together. This is a stone cast pot that a friend of mine got an estate sale. It's very heavy, very expensive looking, but he got it for me. I think it was like all of $10 or $11. And then sitting inside of it, I just have a bowl from my kitchen. This is just a ceramic mixing bowl that I set inside and filled with water. And I think I've also got, a flower frog at the bottom, but you could use florist tape or you could use a wad of chicken wire or something to kind of hold these different elements in place. So what I did was, you recall the other day when I was doing my walkabout outside that I clipped a bunch of red Nandina foliage. Some of it was Obsession Nandina, some of it was Blush Pink Nandina. Those are both Southern Living plants. Some of it may have just been just a common Nana Nandina, and I loved the foliage. I loved the delicacy of the foliage. What I like about it is it looks beautiful even when it starts to dry, so that doesn't bother me at all. So I put that in as kind of a foundation, and then I started tucking in the other plants. So my second layer were these beautiful Amaryllis Blossoms. These were some that I got from Breck's early in the season. This is a darker maroon red, and this is just your classic red lion amaryllis. But they were potted up. And they were starting to fall over, as is often the case. The stalk starts getting really top heavy, and then they fall over, and kind of the lines of them as a living plant they're just not as handsome anymore. So Amaryllis Blossoms also make brilliant cut flowers. So I cut them, and then I just tucked them in. And I think they look really, really beautiful here. And even when these velvety petals start to age, I think it will still make this entire arrangement a long-lived one, and it will endure for a while when this velvety texture starts to, well, it just starts to go soft. Then the third thing I did was I had two bunches of inexpensive, I think they were $4.99 a bunch, of two bunches of spray roses that I got at Trader Joe's, but you can find them other places, whether it's your local florist, whether it's just pretty much wherever it is that you shop, you can find these pretty inexpensively. And I took two different colors that I thought looked beautiful together because I wanted to assemble a real rich tone-on-tone look. And I think, Stuart, if you don't mind showing my rug here, I think it looks beautiful on the rug that's in my entryway. And it also looks beautiful, I think, with the things that are in the background in my living room, because the colors kind of all resonate. And then you may identify these sticks. These are sticks that just kind of float around from one arrangement to another. And I just put those in, and I just kind of positioned these roses, and I think this is just a beautiful arrangement. If I purchased this at a florist, it would be astronomically expensive, but you too can put together a really dramatic kind of an early Valentine arrangement, I think, yourselves, with cuttings from your garden and some inexpensive grocery store flowers. So just put it together. This is really rich tone on tone, and I think will be beautiful. I don't know how long it will last. I've already had it for, Stuart, 3 days. Did I do this about 3 days ago? And it is as fresh as ever. I just need to remember to continually add water to it. Okay, so now let's go to the real topic of my day, and that's aftercare for your amaryllis bulbs. Let's go by the fire. Well, baby, it's cold outside. It is, Stuart, what did you tell me the temperature was? 22. But boy, that snow is just beautiful. I am loving it. We got no ice underneath it, and it is just It is just beautiful, and I am here in front of the fire all cozy because I want to talk about aftercare for your amaryllis bulbs that may be out of flower now and you're wanting to know what to do with them. And that leads me to my question of the day. I still have a number of amaryllis that are getting ready to come into bloom. Some of them have already expired, but this is my question of the day. Do you guys have amaryllis that are still coming into bloom? And if so, how do you feel about that? Because even though these are beautiful, I'm kind of, the red ones, even though Valentine's Day is still on the horizon, I'm kind of over the red ones because I'm really starting to segue into forced bulbs and things that are a little bit more spring-like, like this pastel-colored white amaryllis, these beautiful daffodils that I have on the mantle. I got those at Trader Joe's. They were very, very inexpensive. And then I also bought this beautiful planter at Trader Joe's that has an amaryllis that's been combined with some hyacinths, but this is going to bloom all in pink. And I have tucked in a couple of this, this just kind of really delicate cut leaf Obsession Andina in here because I was using this for a QVC spot that I did the other day talking about these eggshell trellises. So I've digressed enough from the topic at hand. Now, I may do this a little bit differently than other people do. Laura at Garden Answer has a wonderful video on aftercare for amaryllis bulbs, but I tend to do this a little bit differently. First of all, I don't try to get every single one of them to rebloom. That's partly because it's how I live my version of a garden-inspired life. If I had a greenhouse, if I had a large storage area where I could get all of these, the space and the conditions they needed to rebloom, I probably would do so, but I don't. So here are my tips for aftercare and how I do it. I actually have some friends who have greenhouses and who like to continue to cultivate them and nurture them and feed them so they will grow again next year. So part of my aftercare is I gift a lot of my spent bulbs and I give them to my friends. Those that are particularly valued by me, that it was a specific color that I just am afraid I may not find again. This year, some of the deep maroons from Brex I just love. Color Blends has some white ones that are edged in pink that I absolutely love. So specific varieties that I want to come back, I will go to the effort myself, but I don't do it with all of them. Typically, like the common ones, the red lions and such, I typically gift to someone else. So first of all, what you're going to do is if you have a stalk that is coming into bloom, and then let's say one of the flowers on it, of this entire flower head, is starting to go bad, then I cut that off just at the base and I leave the other blooms that are still fresh, I leave them there to do their thing. Because what I don't want is for this to start going to seed and then it will try to go to seed and it will take then food and energy away from the blossoms that are still going to bloom, but also from the bulb itself. So that's how I deal with that. Once the entire stalk and the entire flower head is spent, I cut it off at the base. Here, let's show this one, Stuart. I cut it off at the base. And you can see I've already done it here with this one that's expired. And then I've just got the bulb that I have to contend with. Now, this right here has beautiful green upright foliage, and this is really what I want to go for because this has been growing in adequate light. But in the low light of late winter, you'll notice that a lot of them start to spread like this. The foliage isn't that really deep, dark, intense green, and they need a little bit more light to get this kind of intensity. Now and they will also tend to splay. What you don't want to do then, because we're not going to cut off any of this foliage, we're going to leave that foliage in place, just like you do outdoors, say with your daffodils or your muscari, because it's the foliage that helps photosynthesize and feed the bulb for its next bloom. So I'm not going to cut off any of this foliage here, at least not now. And if it is starting to fall over, then you want to give it some kind of support. In some cases, if it's extremely splayed, then you might even want to tie some string around it. But what I am not going to do is strangulate it and really support and tie that foliage very tightly, because then I don't have it's reducing the amount of light that can reach this foliage, because I have reduced the surface area that's exposed to the sun. So I'm going to let it splay a little bit, but that kind of cascading effect will be somewhat tempered by whatever kind of support, whether it's something like this or it is string, whatever it is that I want to support it with. In this case then, I am going to tuck these away in an area that gets as much light as I can provide them. I'm going to continue to water them until I do what I do. If I had a greenhouse, I would put these in a greenhouse, but I don't. So typically I take these and I position them in an out-of-the-way place. The few that I'm going to save until next year, I'll put them into, say, the guest bedroom, sometimes down in the basement, sometimes out in my studio office, where they will continue to grow on, and I will continue to water them as needed. Then, this is where maybe I do it a little bit differently than some. At that point, as soon as it's past the frost date, which for me in my zone B is about April 15th, then I put them outside and I start growing them outside. And typically, and if you guys want to refer back to some of my videos from last summer, typically what I do is I make sure to mark them so I know what the variety is. And then I plant them all together in one large pot, because I don't want to be a slave to continually watering them in these smaller pots. I put them in one large pot. I let all of this foliage grow into a huge mound so it gets this real tropical look. At that point, I continue to just treat them like an outdoor container plant. I give them some shade in the afternoon, and I continue to water them. And importantly, throughout the growing season, I continue to feed them. Then in like September or late August, I typically will bring them in. I quit watering them and I let the foliage die down. Now for me, what that means is I put them into my garage or some area where I won't be tempted to continually water them. The foliage dies down. It will die down completely, and then I will cut that foliage off, and these will be allowed to go dormant until I bring them out to flower again. Now, I have found that just like in my world, tulips don't reliably come back. I replant them every year. And I do the same with amaryllis, because I have to have amaryllis every holiday. And so I replant new bulbs every year for the most part, because I'm not convinced and I'm not confident that those that I have nurtured to come back and that I have let go dormant will bloom again during the holidays. Plus, by then I have put them in a really large pot. So I will go ahead and bring them out after they have been dormant for like 6 to 8 weeks, sometimes longer. I'll bring them out and I'll put them in the sun. Like right now, I've got some of those large pots out in my studio where they will get light. But for me, I have found that they don't come back again in time for Christmas. And typically what I do then is I just hold them over until in the spring, when I will put them outside. And then what I have found is that foliage grows out. It looks absolutely beautiful. And then I will get summer blooms. And for me, that's really, really fun because they come out in the summer. They're a surprise. It's kind of like Christmas in July. So that's kind of my a little bit convoluted way that I do it. I don't assume they will come back every year reliably from spent bulbs, but they will come back. You just have to be more patient, and you need to babysit them and tend them and care for them a little bit longer. The important thing is that you feed them during the summer, that you give, if you put them outside, that you give them some protection from hot sun and sunlight that may be a little bit too strong. Continue to feed them, and then if you want them to bloom again, put them in some kind of dormant condition. So that's how I do it. If you guys have a different strategy based on your zone or the fact that you have a greenhouse, then definitely let me know. This is just how I do it, and this is what has worked for me. By all means, consult other videos that may have a different technique, but if you do want to save your bulbs from one year to the next, this is one technique that works for me. So there you go. Stuart, let's put a playlist up that might show some of the summer container plantings that show and demonstrate what it looks like when it's out in the garden. But you don't want to really get rid of them or put them in the compost pile unnecessarily if you don't have to. There is still life in these bulbs yet. Well, if you've held on this long, here's my outfit of the day, and kind of an easy and fast uniform if you want to be very comfortable but also look kind of stylish. So from head to toe, let me start with my earrings. I just got these the other day. They're this kind of pinkish red. They're wood. They are very, very light. And here is a great tip, you guys. I just got these off of Amazon. They're like 8 pair for, was it $6.99 or something like that? And look at all of these different varieties that you get. They're all wood, so I love the fact that they have this kind of organic vibe. And if you wanted to give these as galantines, you could just buy one set and divide them up and give a different style to each person. They look really, they don't look inexpensive at all. And it would also be really fun if you are a little craftier than I am to take some of these solid ones and you could maybe decoupage or put some kind of motif on there, and it would elevate their look even more. I like them, and I especially like these kind of big dangly earrings in the summertime because you don't want to wear a lot of jewelry, but big earrings that make a statement. So there's my earrings. Then my top. This is one of my favorite looks, I guess. You guys know that I kind of like white starched tops with kind of a man's collar, and this is from Forever 21. I got this a number of years ago, but this is a men's small. So when you're shopping at thrift stores or really any kind of stores, especially if they're having a sale or something, then look for men's extra small or men's small, or also look in the boys department. And I think even though I've got it untucked and it's very, very casual, it still looks kind of nice and a little bit tailored, even though I've just got on some joggers. These are just cotton joggers that I got off of Amazon, and my shoes, my flats, are from Anthropologie. I've had these for years and years. My necklaces, Stuart's mom really likes these. I got these at Ross for Less a number of different years ago, and they weren't all hanging as a set. They were all hanging individually, and I just put them together as kind of an ensemble, and I thought they really looked nice with these earrings. So there you go. There is my outfit du jour and a tip for an inexpensive Valentine's gifts for some of your friends. Well, oops, Stuart reminded me, this is my bad, that I was supposed to tell you guys about the Valentine gift list, but since he was giving me grief, I'm going to give him some grief, because he said he was just tickled pink with our Valentine gift list. And I didn't know, Stuart, that you, the manly man, used expressions like tickled pink. So I just got a little chuckle out of that. So this is my epilogue to remind you guys that I do have a Valentine gift list that is up. There will be a link to it in the community tab here on YouTube, or you can go to lindavater.com, and is it under shop, Stuart? It's under shop, and there will be a Valentine gift list. And it's pretty all-inclusive, a lot of different things. Some things that I am doing videos for them. They've asked me to try out some products. Some of them have been recommended by Stuart. Some of them have been recommended by Carrie. And then, of course, a lot of them have been recommended by yours truly. So if you are looking for a broad price range of Valentine gift recommendations, then you might want to head to my Valentine gift list, and hopefully it will tickle pink you too.